Let's take a look at factoring trinomials. And I like to show this by example. So let's look at our first one. We got x squared minus 14x plus 40. Now this is of the form where you got x squared, x, no x, and there's no number in front of our x squared. Now that's specifically the form we're looking for. Again, x squared, x, no number in front of your x squared. This is the Psd method when it's of that form. Now with the Psd method, we take the number at the end, the 40, and we would ignore signs. If that was a negative 40, we'd just still go with a positive 40. And we're going to come up with three columns: a P column, an S column, and a D column. The P stands for product, the S stands for sum, and the D stands for difference. In the product column, we're going to write down all products give us 40. We got 1 times 40, we got 2 times 20, we got 4 times 10, and we got 5 times 8. Now, if you're not very good at coming up with those, you could just plug them in your calculator. 40 divided by 1 gives you 40. 40 divided by 2 is 20. 40 divided by 3 gives you decimals. If you get decimals, it doesn't divide into it evenly. In the S column, we're going to add these numbers together. 1 plus 40 is 41. 2 plus 20 is 22. 4 plus 10 is 14. 5 plus 8 is 13. In the difference column, we're going to subtract the smaller from the larger. 40 minus 1 is 39. 20 minus 2 is 18. 10 minus 4 is 6. 8 minus 5 is 3. The number we're looking for is a number in our middle term, which in this case is 14. And we find it here in the S column, which means we're going to use 4 and 10 in our answer. So I've got x4 and x10. Now we got a note on our signs. The larger number in the P column that we're using 4 and 10, so large number is 10, is always the same sign as the middle term. Our middle term up here, the negative 14x, that's negative, so the 10s will be negative. Now if the number you circled in the S column, it's S for same signs, both positive, both negative. If the number you circled in your difference column, it's D for different signs. One will be positive and one will be negative. Since the number we circled in the S column, S for same signs, if the 10's negative, then the 4 will be negative. And that's our answer. Let's take a look at another one of those. That was our first problem. Our second problem, we got x squared plus 24x plus 80. And it's again the Psd method, because we got x squared, x, no x, and there's no number in front of our x squared. Psd method, we take the number at the end, ignoring signs, so we take the 80, and we'll come up with our three columns. And we scroll down a little bit. Okay. In the P column, we're going to write down all products give us 80. We got 1 times 80, 2 times 40, 4 times 20, 5 times 16, 6 no, 7 no, 8 times 10. Okay. Now in the S column, again we're going to add these together. 1 plus 80 is 81. 2 plus 40 is 42. 4 plus 20 is 24. 5 plus 16 is 21. 8 plus 10 is 18. In the difference column, we'll subtract the smaller from the larger. 80 minus 1 is 79. 40 minus 2 is 38. 20 minus 4 is 16. 16 minus 5 is 11. 10 minus 8 is 2. Always the number we're looking for is the number in our middle term, which is 24, which is right here, which means we'll use 4 and 20. Now our note says that the larger number in the P column that we're using, which is the 20, will always be the same sign as the middle term, which is positive. The number we circled in the S column, S for same sign, so if the 20 is positive, then the 4 has to be positive. And that's our answer. Let's take a look at one more of those. We got x squared minus 6x minus 40. And this is again the Psd method. Now what tells me this Psd method is we got x squared x, no x, and there's no number in front of our x squared. We'll take the number at the end, ignoring signs. So take a look at 40. And we come up with our three columns. P column, again, we're going to write all the products give us 40. We got 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 4 times 10, 5 times 8. Same numbers we had up here. I could have reused that table, but okay. Now the S column, we're going to add those together. 1 plus 40 is 41, 2 plus 20 is 22, 4 plus 10 is 14, 5 plus 8 is 13. Difference column, we'll subtract them, smaller from larger. 40 minus 1 is 39, 20 minus 2 is 18, 10 minus 4 is 6, 8 minus 5 is 3. Always the number we're looking for is a number in our middle term, which is a 6, which is right here, which means we're going to use 4 and 10. Now our larger number in the P column that we're using 4 and 10, so our larger number is the 10, will always be the same sign as the middle term. Well, middle term is negative, so the 10 will be negative. Now the number we circled is over in the difference column, D for different signs. So if the 10 is negative, then the 4 has to be positive. And that's our answer. Now those are the three examples of the Psd method. The next one we're going to take a look at is a little bit different. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, number 4. We got 15x squared minus 16x plus 4. This is not in the form of the Psd method because it's got x squared, x, no x, but there's a number in front of our x squared. This form is the key number. So that's the key number method. Again, the key number method is when you have x squared, x, no x, number in front of your x squared. Now with key number method, we're going to take the number at the beginning, the 15, times the number at the end. So 15 times 4. And we would ignore signs. If that had been a negative 4, we would still just went with positive 4. We handle signs later on. And that gives us 60. Now we're still going to use a Psd table. We're going to use it slightly different. Now I'm going to write down all the products. Give me 60. I got 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 5 times 12, and 6 times 10. Sum column, again we're going to add these together. 1 plus 60 is 61, 2 plus 30 is 32, 3 plus 20 is 23, 4 plus 15 is 19, 5 plus 12 is 17, 6 plus 10 is 16. Difference column, subtract smaller from larger. 60 minus 1 is 59, 30 minus 2 is 28, 20 minus 3 is 17, 15 minus 4 is 11, 12 minus 5 is 7, 10 minus 6 is 4. Number we're looking for is still a number in a middle term, which is a 16, which is right down here, which means we're going to use 6 and 10. Now what we do with that is different than before. Psd method, we just wrote down our answer. This time, the first term remains the same, the last term remains the same. We're going to rewrite our middle term using those two numbers. Now our notes on our sign still holds true. The larger number in the P column we're using, which is the 10, will always be the same sign as the middle term, which in this problem is negative. So we've got negative 10x. The number with circles in the S column, S for same signs. Since the 10 was negative, then the 6 will be negative. And we're going to use factoring by grouping. So group the first two terms together, group the last two terms together. The GCF of the first group is 5x. And that leaves us 3x minus 2. Now our second group, the GCF of it, both of them are divisible by 2, and my first term is negative, so I'll bring out a negative 2. and that gives us 3x minus 2. Now our goal was to get these parentheses the same, which they are. So I'll factor out a 3x minus 2. And to decide what goes in your second set of parentheses, you can come up here and you can cross out these 3x minus 2's now. And what isn't crossed out is what goes in this parentheses, which would be 5x minus 2. Let's take a look at another one of those. We got 16x squared minus 26x plus 3. And this is, again, the key number method, because we got x squared, x, no x, and there's a number in front of our x squared. With the key number method, we take the number at the beginning times the number at the end, ignoring signs. So we got 16 times 3 gives us 48. And we'll create our 3 columns again. P column, we'll write down all products give us 48. We got 1 times 48, 2 times 24, 3 times 16, 4 times 12, 6 times 8. The S column, we're going to add those together. 1 plus 48 is 49, 2 plus 24 is 26, 3 plus 16 is 19, 4 plus 12 is 16, 6 plus 8 is 14. The difference column, we'll subtract the smaller from the larger. 48 minus 1 is 47, 24 minus 2 is 22, 16 minus 3 is 13, 12 minus 4 is 8, 8 minus 6 is 2. Always the number we're looking for, it's a number in the middle term, which is 26, which is right here, which means we're going to use 2 and 24. Again, we're going to rewrite our middle term using those two numbers. The larger of 2 and 24 is 24, and it'll always be the same sign as the middle term. Middle term's negative, so the 24 will be negative. Now the number we circled in the S column, S for same signs. Since 24 is negative, then the 2 has to be negative. Now we're going to factor by grouping. So group first 2 terms together, last 2 terms together. The first group has an 8 and an x in common, and that leaves us 2x minus 3. The second group has nothing in common, but my first term's negative, so we'll factor out a negative 1. Whenever your first term's negative, you always factor out a negative 1. If you can factor out nothing else, you can always factor out a positive 1. Now our goal was to get this parentheses the same as this parentheses, which they are. So I'll factor out a 2x minus 3, and that leaves us 8x minus 1 for our second set of parentheses. Again, you can cross out these 2x minus 3's to see what goes in your second set of parentheses. Let's take a look at one more. We got 18x squared plus 25x minus 3. Again, it's the key number method because we got x squared, x, no x, and there's a number in front of our x squared. Key number method, we'll take the number at the beginning times the number at the end, ignoring signs. So we got 18 times 3. And let's see, what's that give us? 54. Come up with our 3 columns. Write down all products give us 54. We got 1 times 54, 2 times 27. 3 times, let me see, 3 times 18. One I have trouble with is the one right up here appears. Let's see, 4 doesn't go into it, 5, 6 times 9. Okay, I think that's all of them. Then we add them. 1 plus 54 is 55. 2 plus 27 is 29. 3 plus 18 is 21. 6 plus 9 is 15. You subtract them. Smaller from larger. 54 minus 1 is 53. 27 minus 2 is 25. 18 minus 3 is 15. 9 minus 6 is 3. Always the number we're looking for is a number in the middle term, which is 25, which is right here, which means we use 2 and 27. And again, we're going to rewrite our middle term using those 2 numbers. The larger of the 2, which is 27, will always be the same size as the middle term, which is positive. The number we circled is in the difference column. D for different signs. One will be positive, one will be negative. Since the 27 was positive, then 2 will be negative. And then we're going to factor by grouping. So group first 2 together, group the last 2 together. Now the first 2 have a 9 and an x in common. And that gives us 2x plus 3. Our last group has a negative 1. First term is negative, so we factor out a negative. And that gives us 2x plus 3. Again, our goal was to get this parentheses same as this, which it is. So I can factor out a 2x plus 3. And again, to see what goes in your second set of parentheses, if you don't see it automatically, you can come up here and cross out these 2x plus 3's, and what isn't crossed out goes right here. I sometimes get asked, do I have to complete this table? If I find my number, can I stop right there? Most of the times you can. Occasionally you'll find numbers in both columns. Well, what you do is if it's in both columns, you try one and see if it works. If it doesn't work, it's the other one. Now, if you're a little bit more comfortable with the signs, if you got a positive number on your last term, then it'll be in the S column. If you got a negative number in your last term, it'll be in the difference column. So that's another way to remember it. And that's how to factor trinomials.